You can let her rip.
All right. One thing that consistently messes up satellite communications professionals is pointing at a satellite. So I have put together a short presentation that covers a few of the how-tos on how to get onto the correct satellite. So this class focuses on geostationary satellites. These satellites orbit above the equator, about 23,000 miles away. And they are placed 23,000 miles away for a very specific reason, that they follow around the Earth the same rate that the Earth turns. So they appear to be in the same location in the sky. So this could be your direct TV. When somebody puts a dish on your roof, they bolt that thing on your roof, nobody touches it. However, there are some satellites that drift a little bit, a lot of military satellites, but for this presentation, we're just going to cover this GeoBelt, which you can see there's about 700 satellites around the Earth. And each one of these slots, which is if you do 360 degrees, is the orbital slot. So we're at about MiG 104 or 104 West, but I'm going to break this down into 3 steps. So knowing your beacon, which is the energy you're going to look at to see that you're on the correct satellite. Getting your look angles, because you have 2 fixed points, one where you are, one where the satellite is, so you need the difference between those. And then not getting on the side lobes, which typically trips up satellite operators the most. So I'm going to, let's see here. So knowing your beacon, each satellite in the sky, one disclaimer, there is absolutely no constants in satellite communications. Most satellites have beacons, and these are within a certain subband, so either C-band, KU, X-band, where, like for instance, DoD satellites, every person that works with a discus satellite knows that the beacon is at 7,600. It doesn't matter, Air Force, Army, Navy, it's at 7,600. Or for commercial satellites, they put these beacons wherever they want to. And but it's a constant, we call it carrier wave, so a specific wave that carries no information, but just basically power. So if you look at a spectrum analyzer, get the lights. If you look at a spectrum analyzer screen, you have your frequency on your x-axis, and then your power on your y. So the frequency might be at, like, say, a typical C-band beacon might be 4199, so megahertz. So you can find this information on the internet for some satellites. It's hit or miss. Satellites may have several beacons, and then they're all going to be different. So the idea is you're a little bit different from each satellite, especially the satellites next to you. You can't have the same beacon as the satellite next to you, because essentially you look the same. And there's only a small difference. And each degree you point that satellite is, you're moving your signal about 400 or about 500 miles in space. So your look angles. So where you are on Earth, so we're at roughly 104 west, and with a latitude of about 34, 38 here. That's where, so you know your fixed location, then you need to know where that satellite is in the sky, which relates to the orbital slot. And so if you wanted to have your dish point exactly 180, you'd be looking at a satellite that's at about 104 west in the sky, above the equator. So if you're at the equator, or if you're north of the equator, your dish is going to point south. If you're south of the equator, your dish is going to point north. If you're at the equator, your dish will point more or less straight up. There is one website, E2IO, that you can actually program in your lat long, and then you can choose your satellite, and it'll tell you exactly where you need to point for your elevation and your azimuth. And your azimuth, okay, so your azimuth is your direction. So if you're thinking you have a full range of you almost get 160 degrees of view, and then you can point up nearly to 80 degrees for your dish. And it's all kind of your dish specific. It's going to be your hardware that limits that type of stuff. All right, and the side lobes. So this is by far what trips up most satellite operators. I do it. I point dishes for a living. I do this probably 9 or 10 times a week at least. And every now and again, I make this mistake, and then somebody points out my mistake. So if you look right here, the satellite, you have an antenna, and there's energy that comes off of the antenna. You have a main lobe, which is what you want to focus at, and then you have your side lobes. The side lobes are attenuated energy, and it's basically energy. If you think about, like, you cup your mouth, if you cup your mouth like this, then it focuses the energy. That's your main lobe, but you can still see that ambient, that you can still hear my voice even though you're out of my cone. That's the ambient energy you can still focus on. So when you actually bring it up, you think you're on it because you see power. It's elevated above the noise floor, but really you still have some problems, or well, you still don't have as much energy as you could. So basically what happens is as you move the dish by, say, half a degree, you'll see this move, you'll see it go down, and you'll see it come back up much stronger. So this is a much stronger energy than being on a side lobe, especially for satellites that run very hot. You can come up on a side lobe that actually looks like, hey, everything is correct. It's not until you move your dish a little, your azimuth and elevation, that you'll actually see the main lobe come into peak. So you'll lose some energy, and then all of a sudden the energy will come in as strong as possible. And kind of like a joystick, you can kind of move around a little bit and get right on that peak of energy as strong as you can. So again, those are the three things you got to watch out for. You got to know your beacons, you got to know your look angles, and you got to watch out for side lobes. Are there any questions? All right, that was 7 minutes, 10 seconds.
Okay, good job. That's definitely in the side lobe region or in the noise.
I happen to know a little bit about what he was talking about, just a little bit though, because when I was in the Space Command as a graphic illustrator, I had the opportunity to actually reproduce that geofield diagram.
Oh, this guy?
And I was always back there doing the presentations for the commander, right?
Oh, okay.
So, you heard this stuff constantly. And when they said when a satellite comes to the point of, I guess, graveyard or whenever they don't use it no more, they just let it go ahead and
They put it out, they super sync it?
Yeah.
They push it out a little bit farther?
Yeah, out of that belt.
And then wait 200,000 years for it to eventually fall back to Earth.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, Jeff, thanks so much. Appreciate it. And 10 seconds is definitely within the acceptable margin of error.
The funny thing is, I could easily turn that into a 2-hour class.
Oh,
if I
sure.
wanted to. Easy.
Yeah. Yep. That's okay. You did a good job of condensing and getting to the good stuff. I still don't totally understand it all, but it's all great.
You were a pilot, so there's a...
So just give me a vector and I'll be good.
Same thing.